Okay. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the planning track here for the conference. My name is Marc Seewald. I'm myself and Mark Rinaldi here will be your next presenters. Mark, can you just confirm you can see my screen correctly?
I can see it perfectly. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. So as advertised here, you can see that Mark and I are both from Oracle Product Management, EPM Product Management. So we're a part of the team that brings the planning products to you here in our EPM Cloud. So thrilled to be joining you. Today, we're going to be talking about really the concept of connected planning. I was really excited about the last presentation for those of you who saw it on Groovy. Yeah, that's one of the features that helps with connected planning, and we'll be talking about a lot more. As we get into it, there will be a couple items we're going to talk about from a roadmap. We really want to focus mostly on kind of what's in the product today, but there's a couple of really nice features coming in the very near future that we do want to talk about. So safe harbor does apply to anything of that, of course. So just how we'll go through this, it's 45 minutes and we've got a lot of stuff to cover. So we'll spend a few minutes just talking a little bit about what we mean by connected planning. I think that's important. We firmly here at Oracle, and I hope the rest of the community is really sees this as well, that planning can evolve dramatically differently compared to what you may have thought about from in on-premise systems. The cloud really opens up a lot of doors to what we mean by connected planning, and we'll try to define that for you in this section. And then we'll talk about some key features, mostly in the product today, and a couple neat little features here I think that you guys will enjoy coming in the not too distant future. And then we'll finish up the agenda with just talking a little bit about how you can work here with Oracle product development, of which Mark and I are a part of. The quick little plug I'll give ourselves here is that, here on the development team, we try to innovate not just around the software and the features that we bring to you. We also try to innovate around the service that we provide for you. This is software as a service in the cloud. And again, we spend a lot of time thinking about both of those S's. So with that, just a level set, I think this should be mostly pretty clear for everybody who's attending this session, but obviously planning is a part of a broader platform here in the EPM cloud. If you are new, I know there's probably existing customers and folks who may be new to Oracle. EPM stands for Enterprise Performance Management. In today's discussion, we'll focus on that green area over on the right-hand side. They're really focusing on that broader planning domain. But just understand that this is a part of a broader set of capabilities. And again, kind of what's different in the cloud is you can really mix and match capability across what would traditionally have been thought about as consolidation, or what it traditionally may have been thought about as reporting. Things of those natures are really now kind of mashed up together in the EPM cloud. Just to get into a little bit more on this kind of concept of connected planning, I think it's really, there's multiple dimensions by which you could think about connectivity in planning. You can think about connecting financial planning with operational planning, and we'll spend a lot of time talking about that here today. You can talk about connecting different parts of the plan, connecting income statement and balance sheet planning with workforce planning and Capex planning. You can think about connection between on-prem and in the cloud. Most organizations need to live through a kind of a hybrid deployment as they're moving their business and operational systems to the cloud. But anyhow, the area we really want to focus on here is a newer area that Gartner, quite frankly, has coined as what they call XP&A. So playing on the name of FP&A. XP&A really talks about connecting these operational plans with broader corporate FP&A. And again, this is part of that art of the possible that we do think is a little bit more possible here in the cloud than what you may have thought about in the past. Very important. Also, I'll just again, a little shameless plug. Thank you very much to our customers and to our partner community out there. Just recently, the Gartner Magic Quadrant was published here for 2020, just a week or two ago. And we're fourth year running here as a leader, and we've made some nice new distance in that leader squadron as well. So thank you to our customers who participated in the Gartner survey, and thank you to our partner community that just does a fantastic job. But do just really want to drill into this concept that Gartner's introducing around this XP&A, focusing on having these financial plans from corporate FP&A connected with operational plans like sales and marketing teams, or connected to IT. Sales and marketing, for example, really does planning more of maybe not just a simple sales forecast, but also wants to plan things like quota, plans things like territory, do modeling around compensation and incentive comp, things of that nature. Down below, a huge area we've seen a lot of interest in here, actually in the last 7 months, kind of coming out of the impact here from COVID-19, we've seen a lot of interest in certain industries that are going to be more supply chain focused to have much stronger collaboration between supply chain and operations with FP&A. So we're seeing a lot of focus on S&OP or sales and operational planning, integrated business planning, whatever you want to call it. But another important area, IT is something we've been talking about for quite some time here in the EPM cloud. So, and HR, of course, as well, connecting more, not just traditional compensation planning, but skill set planning, things of that nature. And, I know that we've been talking about that. For those of you who've attend conferences regularly, you may have heard Marc or myself talk about these concepts for quite some time now. But we're really seeing some really nice adoption, obviously, in our customer base right now. In the EPM cloud, we have over 5,200 customers in the EPM cloud. So, we obviously see lots of great stories around how our customers are using planning software, not just for financial planning, but also in operational planning. Now, obviously, we could talk about any number of these, but if we just talk, working from the right-hand side of the top, kind of clockwise around the screen there, I'll start by talking about HR. A number of industries, really no industry-specific focus here, but a couple of interesting stories, I think, on the HR connection standpoint. One comes out of the UK government. Actually, we're seeing lots of interest in areas like strategic workforce planning, driven by kind of economic factors like Brexit. Brexit, if you're familiar with what's going on in the UK over the last several years, obviously they're separating from the EU, and that's changing their human resource footprint in a huge way. And so they're taking a look out, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, the kind of skill sets they're going to need, and trying to marry that with their traditional compensation and workforce planning. So lots of interesting use cases kind of in that HR domain. Also continuing clockwise, information technology, large companies, with big spend. Gartner estimates actually about 10 to 11% of total revenue is often allocated to marketing budgets. Particularly in companies like insurance or telecom, huge budgets. So the ability to do these operational style, I'm sorry, I'm talking about marketing. I should have been talking about IT, but in IT, obviously there's huge amount of spend going into, obviously making the transition from on-premise to the cloud, obviously, really helping the business to be more competitive by making big investments in technology to help them better compete against their competitors in the marketplace and so forth. So lots of planning and management reporting being done at that IT level of detail. We had some interesting customers present at Open World last year, actually, on this front around IT planning. Down below, you can see, again, in the supply chain area, obviously mostly typical industries that are going to be spending time in the supply chain, like manufacturing, whether it's a discrete manufacturer or whether it's more of a process manufacturer, or so. Both those kind of industries have a lot of needs to kind of align themselves from a supply chain and finance perspective, but also other industries like grocery stores or restaurant chains. Huge amount of interest in this area for aligning S&OP processes or sales and operational processes. The final slide over there, and that's where I kind of got a little confused, but sales teams and marketing teams, as you can imagine, those kind of industries that are going to have a lot of business to business type interaction, where maybe it's a software company or maybe it's a large CPG customer that's selling their products to big retail chains. Those kind of industries really need to be having a really good paying attention to detail on their marketing and or sales type planning processes. So just a few little anecdotes, but it's definitely an area we've seen a lot of interest in. Why it's relevant is that each one of these stakeholders has very different requirements. Clearly FP&A obviously has the need to align all of the business and bring together financial reporting for purposes of the total enterprise. But anywhere where there's a number held out, whether it's in IT, whether it's in marketing, whether it's in HR, these folks are doing planning and management reporting as well. And traditionally, they've been using Excel spreadsheets by and large. Maybe in the years ago, maybe you tried to automate some of those processes with our on-premise software. But again, I think the cloud is making it a little bit more practical, a little bit easier to use. And there's some important product investments we've been making on the Oracle side to really help facilitate these operational users to be more connected into FP&A. One of the big areas, and now okay, this is where I'll kind of wrap up before we get into talking about specific features, but one of the bigger areas that we're been making huge investments in over the last 6.5 years in the cloud, and continue to make big investments in, is really just making a much more consumer grade style experience with our software. So those of you who've been using our cloud software know that it's really evolved a lot. If you've been using our on-premise products, there didn't used to be a lot of dashboarding or visualizations in the products. But obviously that's changed a lot today, and little by little, we've been chipping away and really trying to blur the lines between BI and EPM with our tools. Just in August, if you were paying attention to the August release that 2008, we released what we call Dashboard 2.0. So lots of big investment in this area, another area we continue to focus on. Below that, you'll also see a kind of a focus around, not just planning. FP&A, or whether you're an operational planner, you're also looking at just the general management reporting and process, and how can you make that more streamlined. So again, thinking about more broadly within EPM Cloud, tools like narrative reporting, capability like enterprise data management, really helps you not just be more effective within a single silo or within marketing or within IT, but it also allows you to stay more connected with FP&A. So strong synergy, strong metadata governance between processes. So when you look at sales or revenue, across different lines of businesses, sales or revenue means the same to everybody. So again, that gives you a little bit of insight to what we're referring to here. And now let me get into some of the more details around the product. As I have been alluding to here, you can see that although we're going to be talking about planning today, in the EPM Cloud, there are different traditional product categories that we've kind of broken out EPM Cloud into. But again, keep your minds open. We really think, although these are very clear product functionalities, we really think the best way to use our tools to mix and match these together to deliver business processes like from FP&A or operational planning. Clearly in the middle there, you can see profitability and cost management plays a huge role, we think, in making a world-class FP&A process. If you're not familiar with profitability and cost management, I would encourage you to attend a webcast on it. It's going to be presented by Don Bean, who's our product manager for the product. That is tomorrow. You can see that. Just excellent tool for things like a strategic profitability analysis or transfer pricing, or things like shared service costing. All important processes to finance. Also, you can see on the right-hand side of the page is our narrative reporting capability. So again, super important to attend these. Some of our advances we're really making in the area of not just narrative reporting, but just reporting and analytics in general. So let's get into some of these key features, and this is where I'm going to have Marc join me here in the presentation. But just wanted to start out with a little bit of an overview of what we mean by that connected planning. And now we'll talk a little bit about some of the key features. Now, again, I can imagine in a conference like this, so we've taken a little bit of a look at the attendee list here and just some of the company names. And I can imagine many of you are already EPM Cloud customers using our cloud planning products, but many of you may also be using our traditional on-premise planning product. And maybe you're looking at potentially moving to the cloud, and you're really maybe trying to think, hey, what's that business case? Why would I move to EPM Cloud? And what's different between Hyperion planning and cloud planning? So this is we've got 2 slides here. This is the first of 2 slides. It really kind of calls out some of the major differences between the cloud and on-premise planning. All these slides will be made available to you. What you'll notice in that capability column, anywhere there is an underlined set of words there, that's actually a hot link. So we try to call out unique sets of capability, and then also give you a hot link out to nice short videos to give you an insight into really what makes this capability special. Clearly we have way too many bullets on this screen to talk through each one of them, but if we just call out a couple here, I'll call out maybe rows 1 through 9 there, all in one big chunk. We've been making huge investments in the planning modules, and our customers have been really adopting them at a very nice pace. We've seen customers be very successful with the planning modules, whether it's workforce or Capex or strategic modeling. Lots of success with them, huge areas of differentiation compared to our on-premise product. These are not your father's planning modules here, very different. Another thing I want to call out is, last thing I'll call out, and I'll ask maybe Marc to comment on a couple areas, but the integration in general, the themes we have around integration, not just within planning processes like workforce planning and financials, but also integrations between Oracle Fusion and other application silos like Fusion HCM or Fusion projects, other things like that. So important part of differentiation. Mark, anything else you'd like to call on this slide?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So yeah, too many bullet points to go through everything, obviously, like Mark said, but a few things that are very, very popular in EPM Cloud, valid intersections, row 18, right? This is something that we historically, from an on-premises standpoint, used to have to handle with multiple forms, where it's, hey, I have access to entities 1 and 2, and I've got access to products A through Z, but really only products A through M are supposed to be with entity 1, and N through Z are supposed to be for entity 2. How do I control that? I have access to everything. So valid intersections was a way to help control what are good intersections of loading data. So it's a very, very popular feature. That's something that, long time on-prem trying to work around, if you will. So that's something that's only available in the cloud. Groovy, we'll talk a bit more about Groovy on its own slide, but and I know the previous session was a big focus on Groovy. It is a major enhancement, right, to calc scripts, and we'll focus on that. And we're seeing wide adoption of this. And as I think Joe Altman said in the previous session, a lot more of our content from those modules that Mark is referring to at the top are leveraging Groovy because of the value it brings to us and the abilities it gives to us to help optimize the solution. So these are definitely, you'll get these slides, as Mark said, and he has all those. If we go to the next slide here, there are a bunch of other things if we just start calling out some of these here, but hybrid BSO, right? So we officially support hybrid BSO in the EPM Cloud now, and we never did on premises. I know some of you turned it on anyway, but it's not supported. So, this is officially supported in the cloud, and obviously we're taking advantage of this for the modules and things of that sort to help with reducing aggregation times and trying to blend a little bit more of that best of both worlds between ASO reporting and hybrid or detailed calculations on a BSO model. So definitely seen a big uptick. We introduced that back in 1906 when we came out with the new SKU offerings in the cloud, and we've seen huge adoption on this as we go forward. Another one, and this is starting on the safe harbor statement, row number 25, cell level security. Again, I've got another slide coming up on this and go in a little bit more detail. For those of you who've been using planning on-prem or have used to using Essbase, I mean, this is something that's a great feature to get you that extra level of detail around security all the way down to the cell level. That's something that's coming out soon. Again, safe harbor on that. Data management, number 27. So this is another differentiator between on-prem and cloud, where we have data management is the cloud version, if you will, of FDMEE. And it's included in every one of our EPM Cloud products. No additional subscription price needed. It's just part of the solution. And back in October of last year, I think we introduced the EPM on-premises agent. So that way you can connect to any system. There's no system you can't touch, right? Whether it's cloud or if it's behind the firewall in an on-premises situation, you can use the EPM agent, install that behind your firewall, and then that can do the communication behind your firewall and then up into the secure EPM Cloud. So not you have that same ability with FDMEE in on-premises, but that's separate licensing and it's just a separate product all to itself versus data management. It's just integrated directly into the products that we have. Again, not going to go through every single one of these bullet points, but just another one to call out. Number 34, row 34, monthly updates delivered by Oracle. Historically, and I was a consultant on Hyperion planning since the 1.0 days. My customers would certainly take 3 to 5 years to do upgrades, right? Basically, when the hardware was becoming obsolete or the third-party support was coming off of official support from the third party. So there are lots of times where you would just miss, you wouldn't get new features and functions available to you until you did that upgrade, and you could wait 3 to 5 years. In the cloud, those are coming every month, and they're not, most of them are turned off, so to speak. So it's, you can choose to consume them or not, but they're available to you every month. And there was some initial hesitation, I think, from the on-premises community about Oracle updating them. This isn't the old, as Mark said, this isn't your father's modules anymore. This isn't, the old, upgrade process or what have you, where, I'll wait for the .1 release kind of thing, right? So we've got I can count on one hand, on both my hands, maybe on a couple of extra pair of hands here or there, but for the number of people that aren't on that getting that release every single month, right? This is our entire fleet of customers that are getting this update every single month. And it's gone fairly smoothly. And I think that we've gotten past that hurdle from a lot of folks that were worried about that type of thing. So it's great to be able to get these updates available to you on a timely basis and not have to worry about it. But, it's Oracle's responsibility to make sure that the update goes smoothly. I think those are the big ones I wanted to call out on these, Mark. If you want to go to the next slide there, I think you're up now.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Mark. So again, just to highlight, I know many of you may already just be cloud customers. But for those of you who are on-premise customers, hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight. Now let's focus, I think, on some of these features that are particularly important to help with this connected planning use case and really making a modern FP&A process, whether it's FP&A or operational planning. First off is predictive planning enhancements. Most of you should know by now, hopefully, if you're monitoring this. Back in August, again, just not too long ago here, we released a very important feature called Auto-Predict, which really builds on our predictive planning capability. So if you've played with maybe predictive planning in the past and maybe you liked it but weren't quite ready to roll it out, we really encourage you to take another look at this. This Auto-Predict capability is very valuable. It really allows you to run predictions on data as soon as actuals come in. So you can set up in batch form. So as actuals are loaded into your system, maybe you have new monthly actuals coming in and you need to generate a new forecast. You can automatically have this predictions be run into a different prediction scenario. So that screenshot down on the bottom right-hand side of the page really hopefully drives home, I think, what some of the value can be. And this, we're really trying to kind of change the dialogue around prediction or around planning and forecasting, trying to make it a much more objective process. So you can see here, instead of doing things like actuals versus forecast or forecast versus budget, if you can start to do things like, hey, what's my manually forecasted value compared to what the machine's telling me, what the machine predicted value would be. And you can see there, you're doing that kind of forecast versus prediction variance. And you might still find that the human forecasters are a little bit more accurate, but this at least gives you an objective discussion point to help kind of get through some of the bias in forecasts. And there certainly is lots of bias in forecasts, upside bias, downside bias, and so forth. But you can either use the Auto-Predict to actually generate a forecast if you're comfortable with the regression predictions or regression-based predictions, or you can use it in this manner just to kind of validate your forecast. It's exciting capability. We know a lot of customers and partners have already started to turn this on and take advantage of this capability. Very easy for you to turn it on and start playing with it in your test environment. So super easy, actually. Great videos out there to this as well. Encourage you to start using it. I think it's going to be particularly valuable when you start to look at some of your operational planners. Operational planners often run a lot of their planning and modeling based on volumes. So taking a look at prediction-based volumes could be hugely valuable to your operational planners. Now, again, this is perfect category for Mark.
Sure. So Groovy, and I only caught the tail end of the prior session, so hopefully this isn't too much of a repeat, or maybe you weren't on that session. But clearly, as I stated earlier on in that bullet point slide, that we have done a lot of enhancements and focus around Groovy just because of the power it provides. And if I really were to boil this down to a few things, the ability to do a focused fix statement is one of the biggest values that I see out of Groovy, just to help with performance, right? This is an age-old S-based challenge, from days gone by, where you don't necessarily know where the data is, so you have to run the rule for the world, so to speak, and being able to just focus that fix statement based on only the data that has changed on a form, or for the data that's being provided in a data load. And we couple this a lot with data management, with the incremental load adapter, right? So you can load a file that has maybe 50,000 records of employee data, and then the next day you get a cleanup from HR saying, oh, there were some things we forgot to send you, or we made some modifications. And if they can't give you that Delta only file, we can use this to create the Delta file, and then Groovy picks it up and will only execute on the records that are in that file being loaded. So it just identifies focused fix statements, and it can do this in parallel. And the threading that we're able to do on both the server layer and the planning server layer and the S-based server layer lets us identify and create a bunch of different focused fixed statements rather than having to do it basically for at relative total entity 0, at relative total fund 0, things of that sort. We can find that data, whether it's through data load or being cells that are changed on a form. So lots of power on that to identify a focused fixed statement to help those calculations perform more efficiently and faster, right? Gives us the ability to validate runtime prompt values, right? We can do a lot of things with Groovy to make sure that you're selecting the right combination of runtime prompts if you have restrictions or limitations. So there are lots and lots of functions that are available around Groovy that help do those things. I think as Joe was saying earlier on the previous session, that beyond your typical planning needs of what you're trying to do, because it can execute a calc script behind the scenes, but it can do so much more than just calc scripts. It can, it brings back the ability to do things like form validations where you don't even allow the save of the data if they're outside of a certain parameter and things of that sort. And there's plenty of free training available. I mean, here's just a list of all the tutorials that we have available in Groovy. There is a lot of documentation available that we have. I know that there are plenty of other partners and other blogs and things of that sort out there that talk a lot about Groovy and get into that, but we have a lot of information available around Groovy, and it's just something that we find is very, very beneficial and only going to continue to enhance what we can deliver out of the box from the products and allow for you to customize. Mark, you want to go to the next slide, please? So cell level security, again, safe harbor here coming soon. For those of you who have ever been with EPM Cloud and are familiar with valid intersections, it's basically using the same framework, if you will, but you'll notice in the screenshot in the upper right that we've added a couple of columns where you can select users and groups and provide a restriction. So we're giving you the ability to do a deny read, deny write type of setup for getting down to the cells, right? So you can get actually down to, April, what have you. It could be different security than all the other months. But in this use case, we have here this example. Think of Bob as the IT person. Maybe Bob has to do all the allocations for the IT department. So from a generic standpoint of where we are today with security and a metadata perspective, he'd probably need IDESCENT and access to total department, right? And he'd get all the accounts. But you know what? Then you may back off gross margin because maybe he doesn't have to see anything on the revenue side because he's really only focused on expenses. But he does need to see all the expense accounts because Bob also does the IT budget itself. So he needs to see salary, benefits, and all the other, all the other travel and entertainment and all that stuff for his own department. But he needs to get access to those other accounts for whatever reason. Well, now with cell level security, you can give him that access as we already have and as he already has in this number 1 bullet point here. But then you can start denying access, whether it be write or read access, and saying, take away his ability to read anything in all the departments except for IT itself, because he still needs his department. But for all these other departments, take away everything underneath compensation. He just should not see any of that. So that's something that really helps us to get more granular with security. And it's an age-old problem, right? We've been solving this in the past with either duplicating the entity structure or dual logins and things of that sort. But with cell-level security, this is just something that you can just leverage right out of the box. And there are a lot of cool features around this. You can actually use cell-level security on the dimensions that are not secured. So it can really just provide a lot of benefit. We're really excited about this. I know several of our partners have seen some advanced demos of this in the past and are salivating. I've got probably a half a dozen customers who want to get this, like 2 weeks ago kind of thing. So it's very exciting out there. Part of this is we're going to give the ability to do import as well from an Excel file. So it doesn't have to be a TXT or a CSV file. So you don't have to, because everyone's going to create it in Excel probably. And then, having to force you to do a file save as to TXT or CSV is unnecessary. We're giving you the ability to do some impersonations so that way you can go to a form and see in the grid itself what access they're going to get as a user. Enter in a username and you will see read, write, or none type of thing in terms of whatever they're getting based off of the security they have and the cell level security you're applying as well. It can also be done on a cube by cube basis. So that we've seen a lot of requests over the years for the ability to do cube level security. Well, this is going to be able to provide that for you. These will be jobs that you can import and export and things of that sort. As a little side benefit, also under Safe Harbor, once we introduce this, we're looking to also introduce the ability to import and export valid intersections as well. Because again, it's using a lot of the same framework there. So we figured while we're doing the import export for cell level security, it was not that much more effort for us to offer that for valid intersections as well. So very excited about this. Hopefully you are as well. I know several people out there have been looking for this type of solution for a while. And this is just our continuation of enhancing the product, delivering value, and getting it to you as soon as possible in terms of just these monthly releases. If you go to the next slide for me, please, Mark. So Calc Manager. So this is one of those ones that extremely powerful and yet vastly misunderstood or underutilized anyway. I'm sure many partners, customers in the past, when we converted from the old Hyperion business rules, if you've been around long enough, into Calc Manager, most of you just figured out the path of least resistance. How do I just get my business rules into Calc Manager, and how can I just edit my calc scripts directly in here, and you've been happy and content? That's wonderful and great. I'm happy you're happy, but there's so many powerful features out here that just go unused. And the ability to do metadata loops and use design time prompts. So everyone's familiar with runtime prompts, but design time prompts give you more flexibility for having generic use cases where there's sort of a tree of decision points as you go through and writing a rule, where you can incorporate decision prompts that, depending on the answer, you shift which branch you're taking as part of that rule to do different features and functions. So runtime prompts are wonderful, but design time prompts give you a lot of flexibility to do a lot of different things and get you more efficient with how you try to get to that logic to give you the ultimate answer you need. We have some system templates out of the box that do a lot of the same things that you'd expect. So this is where, for some people that are worried about, well, I don't, especially if you're new to the products at all and you don't know how to write a calc script. I mean, these are wizard-driven templates that can do any kind of A times B equals C, right? The amount, unit, rate, right? That can be amount equals unit times rate, unit divided by rate. It can do the reverse. It's all wizard-driven. It's got best practices built in. So that way we're responsible, we're supporting that, we're enhancing it. And then that way, if you have performance problems with those, that's on us to fix. Maybe it's a design issue, maybe it's something within the template, but those are the things that we're looking to support with these system templates to help you do pretty much anything you need to do. I mean, you've got the classic clear copy, clear and copy, aggregate, things like that, but then just having the ability to do allocations and any of the A times B type of stuff or unit times rate type of stuff is all nice stuff. You've got plenty of condition statements and loops and ranges and things that you can look for. Very powerful. And as if you're consultants out there, this is portable, right? So you can reusable code. Think of it as the old HBR macros, if you remember those. You can define something, and with the design time prompts, it can be fairly generic and portable to just reuse that code to get your next client up and running faster and quicker. So definitely, we use these a lot with our modules, a lot of Calc Manager templates. We've had other sessions at various partner training sessions trying to demystify the Calc Manager template a little bit just to get people over the hurdle. But they're very powerful features that let you do a lot of things, and it goes vastly underutilized, in my opinion. So if it's something that you haven't really explored much of, look into the documentation and the videos that are available out there, or any of the trainings that might be available out there for you to really leverage the power of what Calc Manager provides for you. Mark, I think you can go to the next slide. And then Freeform. So this is another one that came out in 1906, where we recognize as part of on-premises, anytime I've ever done implementations when I was in my consulting days, we invariably had standalone Essbase cubes off to the side to do certain kind of analytics or historical archiving of data. It's just part of the EPM ecosystem. There are times when you just need standalone cubes. And that's fine. And that's what this Freeform application offering was really meant to target initially. So you have it in the context of being able to use dashboards and web forms and Groovy and things of that sort, but better performance because you can leverage whether it's ASO, hybrid BSO, or BSO. The number of dimensions you can have is greater. The number of members you can have in there are greater. It is available in the Enterprise EPM Cloud product only, but also there's a big distinction here too, where there are no required dimensions, right? If you create a planning application today, you know that there are 6 to 7, depending how you count. If you're on-prem, it can be up to 8 on how you do dimensions, right? But in Freeform, you don't have to have a scenario, a version, an account, a period, an entity. You don't have to have any of those dimensions. You can have a 2-dimensional cube. You can have a 3-dimensional cube. You can have the classic measures dimension instead of account, right? So you can do all those types of things to help bring into the EPM ecosystem all those things that have been off to the side in the past. Now, because they're in the platform, you can have, with your navigation flows, you can have a seamless transition from tab to tab, horizontal or vertical, moving around, navigating around the application to get all of this information that might be much more detailed and granular and might not even have financial information in it, right? These are, to talk about this connected planning, these are operational use cases in a lot of situations that we see. So great feature that we feel, enhanced. It's only available in the cloud, only in the EPM Enterprise Cloud. We've enhanced it over the last several months to expand dimensionality, to expand how you can create these. And there's only more stuff that we're looking to do as we go forward with this. So cell level security, being able to do that and pick that up. Lots of things around Freeform that we're seeing some very exciting use cases out there for. So it's just a very important component to the whole EPM cloud that we're offering.
Hey, Mark, I know we're going to go on to the next slide here, but if maybe you can answer a couple questions real quick here. A good question came in from Dylan around basically governors in Freeform. They want to be able to do 50,000 members in the entity dimension and 1,000 in the account dimension. So can you comment on that kind of process if a customer bumps into a governor?
Yeah, so a couple things on governors. First of all, governors are they're guardrails, right? They're trying to prevent, runaway trains from falling off the tracks kind of thing. So if at any point in time you hit governors, those are not technical limits by any stretch of the imagination. You certainly can log an SR. We just look to review the use case to make sure we understand what's going on. So we do that on a fairly regular basis where people want to expand. But overall, Freeform has higher governors than non-freeform planning applications, right? So the number of dimensions you can have, the number of members you can have in those dimensions are significantly higher. Entity typically has a different number than sort of your custom dimension. Same thing with entity. Entity in Freeform I don't think is restricted as much because you don't have the process management, the workflow set up there, because you don't necessarily have a scenario version or entity dimension in your Freeform. So if you're hitting any of those types of governors, you certainly can log an SR, provide the information that you're, what your use case is, what you're looking to expand it to, and things of that sort. So we certainly would take a look at those.
Great. A couple other questions, but we'll try to handle those at the end. Also, some of the features we're covering here, some of these are more technical features, some of these are more functional features, like predictive planning is going to be very well suited for just about anyone. Some of the features Mark's covering here, I guess, are a little more technical, obviously, but all of these kind of together help you deliver, great solutions, not just to finance, but also operations. And that really kind of leads us to the next category here. If you've been following the EPM cloud for any length of time, the planning modules have been a very, very important area of investment for us, an important part of our strategy. Just really want to differentiate that these modules, a lot of vendors out there have, their kind of take on this. These modules are not just demonstrations or, starter kits. There are a couple of things that we actually officially call a starter kit there. You can see listed on the bottom. But these are true products. These are true applications that we have a roadmap for. Mark could stand up here and talk for the next hour about the roadmap we have just for workforce planning or just for capital expenditures and so forth. So very important part of our investment, and I think enormous value to you. I think a lot of people get confused around where the value of planning modules are. These are designed, first off, they're designed to be configurable. So if you've implemented it, you're not obliged to stay 100% within the box. You can have custom dimensions. You can change some of our processes and so forth, change some of our calc scripts, for example. But importantly, it's the long-lived value of these modules. So we are enhancing them for new features every month. We're bringing out new accounting standards. We'll actually talk about that next, where appropriate, if it's a major accounting standard like US GAAP or IFRS. We're building integrations for it. We'll talk about that here as well. And it's really about the value of us continuing to invest in these so you get continued new value in these planning processes. Importantly, you're not obliged to take enhancements. If you're happy with the way it works, you don't have to turn these enhancements on. But again, just please be aware of this kind of long-term value of the planning modules. And Mark's going to give you a good insight into one of those really good examples here where we enhanced Capex specifically for some changes to GAAP.
Sure, yeah. So IFRS 16, if you're doing anything in Europe or what have you, just the international standards, And then even here in US GAAP, the ASC 842, I mean, there was a change in the accounting of what you do with low value assets, right? And how you handle those. So, if it's a lease value, it's under 5,000, it's, less than a year, it's no longer something that gets capitalized, it just stays on the expense. So this is where if you're using the out-of-box module, and unlike, the old on-premises days where it was, it's just definitely not your father's modules anymore. This is where having this ability to get the out-of-box content, where this now becomes available to you to start applying this right away. You get this the month that it goes out. You don't have to wait 3 to 5 years for it. But really, this is just something that identified a change in the accounting standards and requirements that were out there, and we're able to deliver that so that you can now take advantage of it and have it be following best practices, not only for the functional use case, but as well as optimally within the system itself. So it's all about just distinguishing those operational versus financial lease distinction, getting that narrowed down in terms of what actually has to be recognized on the balance sheet versus what just stays on the P&L. So this is something that is just a value add. You can see in the upper right hand corner, you turn it on when you're ready for it, right? Again, this is where it comes in the off mode, but it's sitting there waiting for you. If the air conditioning gets installed, you don't have to turn it on, but if you're getting hot, turn it on and it'll cool you down right away. So this is where we look to enhance the product over time and give you that type of capability.
Love that analogy, Mark. That's a good one. Yeah. So the final thing we'll talk about here from, well, actually a couple more things. I see we're a little bit behind time, but we'll try to move fast the remainder of the slides. Another roadmap feature, again, not in the distant roadmap. This is coming here relatively soon, but is an integration between Fusion Projects or Fusion PPM and our projects module in the EPM Cloud. So not everybody, of course, is using an Oracle ERP, so maybe not relevant to everybody here on the phone. We obviously make, love to support our SAP customers and Workday customers as well. But for our Fusion customers out there, nice integration between projects. We've been working on this, quite frankly, with our counterparts on the Fusion Projects team for quite some time, and we're bringing that here to you in the very near future. If you want to learn about it, you'll notice there's actually a Cloud Customer Connect webcast where ERP, our colleagues, will actually be talking through some of this, and our colleague Muthu Ranganathan will be on that webcast as well to help everyone understand kind of the integration between projects from our planning, budgeting, and forecasting standpoint, and projects from an execution and accounting standpoint in ERP. So very exciting. Another good example of that value. Don't have time probably to do justice to this, but it would be hard to have a discussion around planning right now without talking about scenario modeling. Given what's been going on, obviously, with the economy and, COVID-19 here over the last 7 years and tons of uncertainty, the level of uptake we've seen of our customers now in scenario modeling has been huge, as you can imagine. If you're not familiar with it, this is a purpose-built tool to help you do really in-memory style modeling, very rapid modeling. It's not based on Essbase, it's based on a slightly different technology there, and it really allows you to do the kind of on-the-fly modeling, which is helpful for operational use cases, financial use cases, and so forth. Also, if you're not familiar with it, there's some nice capability you can use to de-risk your plans. You can see Monte Carlo simulations. Again, that's been in the product for about a year now. And another good example of this, along with our predictive planning. And predictive planning, I saw a question earlier. Predictive planning is available, it's not available in strategic modeling or scenario modeling. It's available in your traditional planning cubes. So I saw that question earlier. But this is capability that just really allows you to do scenario modeling very rapidly. Also importantly, lots of good information. We've been making huge investments in more free online training. So see the links at the bottom of the screen, lots of good information around it from a functional standpoint, as well as from a training standpoint. Now, I know that was a whirlwind tour here. We probably will go slightly longer here into the past our allotted time, but just want to wrap up talking a little bit about how you work here with Oracle in the cloud. It is a little bit different than on-premise. The cloud is, again, is very different. I don't have time to talk about all the differences, but some of the differences is around these services that we provide for our cloud customers. So if you're not aware of it and you're about ready to start a new implementation, please log an SR and request the implementation success program. You'll see that listed up on the left-hand side of the page. It's available to any customer, any partner. We've been talking about this for quite some time. But it's a free program that aligns you with with our product development organization. So keeps you in line for any kind of questions you might have around best practices, any escalations you want to do on SRs that are happening during your implementation, any kind of questions you have in general. We also provide some great services around making sure you're ready to cut over to production. We'll help you performance tune your application. We'll do design reviews. So all kinds of programs available for you. If you have questions about this, never hesitate to reach out to your account manager or us here in Oracle Product Development. We're always happy to answer these kind of questions. So again, not your father's Hyperion here. We really are trying to innovate around the service. And with that, really one of the last slides we want to finish with is an area where I know Marc is very passionate about. So Marc, you want to talk about the community?
Sure, yeah, so I mean, Cloud Customer Connect is something that's out there for any customer of any Oracle Cloud product. We have lots of forums and idea labs out there where the community can ask questions, get advice. We've seen some folks that are putting some nice solution sets out there. I post quite regularly on there with just my flavor of what's new every single month. I sort of add a little twist to it in terms of some of the important parts or things that I like from that. I am a regular contributor to a lot of the other posts that are out there. I try to answer as much as I can. So this is just the more people that use it, the more active and better the community is for everybody. And one of the things I love is if I'm in an all-day meeting and I come back and I notice that someone else in the community has already answered several of the posts that are done out there, that just tells me the community is working. So it's definitely something that if you're unaware of this, the link is there at the bottom of the screen, cloud.oracle.com/community. Definitely sign up for it and monitor it. List the favorites, get your favorite forums that are out there. There's a financial consolidation close, there's planning, there's account rec, there's tax. So you can go through any of those, profitability and cost. And you just have the community of like users, and it's any user. You don't have to be an administrator. Any user can get out there onto that community, and we really encourage you to use that.
Okay, excellent. All right, so we'll finish up here. We'll just kind of leave this slide here as we start to take any questions. If you have any questions, please put them right in the Q&A function right now. I'm more than happy to answer them. I see there's a couple questions we will try to answer right now, but just before we take the questions, I just want to kind of finish. Obviously we covered a lot of territory there, but this concept of connected planning, in particularly around connecting finance with the operations to be a better partner with the business, it is really much more possible now than it's ever been with on-premise software. We've covered some of the features. Some of these are more end-user, business-friendly features like our predictive planning. Absolutely appropriate to roll that out to your operations. And, our Freeform planning, great example of how you can address operational requirements. Some of these other features we covered, like Groovy. Where it's a little more technical feature, so you may not necessarily be handing Groovy to somebody out in one of your lines of businesses. But it does allow you to create business processes that are very easy to use, very rapid. You can do things like hard validations. You can do conditional highlighting, as Marc talked about, all those wonderful things. So, what I'd encourage you to work around is that, in particular, if you have the enterprise SKU that is available for EPM Cloud, it really makes it very practical to lay out a roadmap of how you want to use planning. Think about not just the financial use cases, but think about those operational use cases, whether it's a line of business like marketing or IT, or whether it's an independent freestanding large business unit that maybe wants to do their own modeling. Think about those use cases, and every company will have their own fact pattern and requirements and risk tolerance and things of those nature. But I think those customers that are getting the most value out of the planning, are thinking about, hey, what are some great use cases that our within the company here, we have needs. How can I help my business partners be more successful at running their operations or running their business? So keep those things in mind. And with that, I'll kind of answer the first one of the questions. And I apologize there, Craig. I saw you answered this or asked this a while ago, but the question Craig asks is, are there specific organizational considerations when evaluating certain features like Groovy? And I'd say, and Marc, I encourage you to answer as well, but I'd say yes, absolutely. I mean, clearly you may develop a center of excellence, maybe within your finance team to be very, very competent with all the little details we've covered here today and beyond with the product. When you roll something out to an operational user, they may not have that same expectation. They might not have that same skill set. So there are some features that you want to probably think about. Is it appropriate to kind of roll out some of these things, or not appropriate to roll out some other things? So yeah, obviously keep those in mind. One big area I'll really try to draw your attention to is SmartView. Keep in mind, people in finance often love SmartView. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but oftentimes our people love SmartView, but out in the operations, maybe they don't. Maybe their expectation is more to just enter data into the browser and interact maybe from a mobile device. And those are, again, huge areas of investment we've been making in the product to really have kind of what we call parity between SmartView and a browser-based experience. So continuing to make those investments, but definitely considerations. I see there's one other question there. Mark, you want to take that one on strategic workforce?
Yeah, so right now, I mean, those, hey, Dylan, they are two separate products, right? Strategic workforce planning is built on EPM technology, but it is sold by our HCM team, because what we found is that it's an HR purchase typically. And so sometimes it just takes an HR person to sell it. So we don't have any plans right now to bundle the two. Bundling, by bundling, I'm assuming having a sort of a separate SKU that covers both of the two of them. And that's not currently in our roadmap, but obviously you can buy those independently, yet because it's still based on the EPM technology, it's seamless in terms of being able to incorporate it into the navigation flows, so they can all sit on top of each other and have a single login situation where they're just navigating from card to card, going from one business area to the other. So yeah, no plans to combine those into a unique, a common SKU that has both.
Yeah, I just encourage you though to always talk to your account manager. The account managers here at Oracle are designed to help you be successful. So feel free to reach out to your account manager if you have questions on the commercial side. Obviously, Mark and I focus more on the product, but with that, we encourage any other questions you might have. I don't know if there are. I don't see any other unanswered questions here in the Q&A. So I'll just give one final plug. First off, thank you for attending this. And thank you for attending all the sessions here this week or today that you plan to attend. This is a valuable part of helping sponsor our community or your community here around the success with these products. Thank you for your attention, and we're always here to answer questions. Reach out to us on Cloud Customer Connect, vote on enhancements in the idea labs, and come talk to us about the ways you'd like to see this product evolve and grow. We're here to partner with you. I see there's one more question. Currently not.
Yeah, so I was typing the answer there, but yeah, no, you do have to be a cloud customer of any Oracle Cloud product to join Cloud Customer Connect. You can search it. It is publicly available. You just wouldn't be able to comment or post your own ideas unless you're a registered user, but you certainly can monitor the forums for information. But I believe you have to have a cloud account somewhere, and it can be any cloud product that we have at Oracle, and that gets you onto the platform.
That's right. It could be an HCM cloud. It could be a CX cloud. It could be anything, as long as your company is using some Oracle Cloud product. Then you can really unlimited amount of employees can join the community. Okay, folks. Well, we appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. I know it's late for some of you. Enjoy happy hour if you choose to do that, and if not, we'll see you again here tomorrow or for the next session. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you guys so much.